Hello, everybody. This is Rachna, and I'm here with Ruskin Bond's The Flute Player. Well, children, I'm sure you all are aware that most of the Ruskin Bond books that you read, or let's say the stories that you read, are from India. And most of the time, when we go through it, we find the mention of Dehradun, Dehra, as okay. But this one is a little different. Here we are going to get to see a little bit of Jaipur, right? Which is very unlike of most of the Ruskin Bond stories. But nevertheless, let's get started. So, The Flute Player by Ruskin Bond. This is about a small girl by the name of Kamla. So let's see what Mr. Bond has to tell us about Kamla and her vacation. Yeah? Well, here the story starts with Kamla. She has come from Jaipur, from England, on a summer vacation to live with her grandmother. Her parents are from the UK, that is United Kingdom, where her father, he works as a doctor. Now, after the summer vacation, she's supposed to go back to stay with them and resume her studies at school. So Kamla's vacation in Jaipur, they're just so since her vacations are just numbering out, and she's more captivated by the life portrayed on the other side of the main highway road, which is divided in two parts like the urban and the village landscape. And she, who is living in the city part, definitely wants to know a little bit more about the farm activities and the lush green side, of the countryside. So, as which is something which is very, very usual with Ruskin Bond books, that the child protagonist is always more curious. Same is the case with Kamla. So she secretly goes out of her home or one afternoon and crosses the road and reaches in the fields. So as Kamla walks ahead, she's enticed by the village and the farm related activities. She sees that there is a camel who is, going round and round the well and drawing water from the well. So she is definitely bewitched. And next, under a mango tree, she sees a boy who is sleeping in tattered and dusty clothes with a flute beside him. So as she nears his face, the boy, he gets up and he asks her name, to which she replies that she's Kamla. And the boy introduces himself as Romy, and he says that he's the guardian of the camel and a flute player. And most importantly, he also tells her that he is one of the most strong boys around. And he even tells her that he is able to, not just play the flute, but is very good at other things, like he's able to play games and so on and so forth. So the flute, he plays the flute to show his skills, and when Kamla tries to play it, she fumbled and sounded funny. Actually, it is like, when Kamla, she was playing the flute, she just found it very difficult, and she actually sounded funny as well, because the moment she puts the flute in her in between her lips, there comes out a very, very shrill sound. So Romy, he shows her again and teaches her how to actually play the flute. And since the camel is on its own, Romy is not paying too much of heed towards the camel, and both of them, they gel very, very well together. They both talk for some time and eat mangoes. Romy, he shares his mangoes with her, and they go to explore the farm, the canal, and the nearby verdant area. While walking towards the canal, they spot a pair of blue jay birds. the birds remind Kamla of a story that her grandmother used to tell her about the sacred birds. And because of their blue throat, she told him the same story that her grandmother told her about Lord Shiva having a blue throat because he had swallowed the poison in order to save the world from any further destruction. And she would not, and this would not let it go any further below his throat. So this is the kind of story that she tells him, and he is very much impressed by her knowledge. So you see, while they are telling the story, suddenly a small grey squirrel runs across the path. So Romi said that even squirrels are sacred. He then narrates a story related to Lord Krishna, as how Krishna was fond of squirrels. He would stroke them and take them in his hands. That's the reason squirrels have dark lines on their back, the 3 lines which you see on a squirrel. So Romi, he gets into the water while Kamla walks along the bank, and he hands over his flute to her. Kamla is a bit scared of the water. She doesn't really like it because she feels that it's a little dirty, and she would also catch on some dirt. But then they chat, and later she's a bit comfortable to get into the water. But Romi, he is, he shows off his skills in the water. Yeah, he actually plants his feet at the grass and then he dives in, landing on his abdomen. So after these two, after the fact that the two of them, they are talking to each other, Romi, he becomes a little saddened to know that she would be going back to the UK. And in fact, there is a very big contrast, which they show, from London and Manchester to Delhi and Jaipur in India. There's a big kind of contrast that they show, and they also show, quite a few similarities between them. So while they're talking at length about various details, Romi now realizes that she's supposed to be going back home, and then they chat about the plan of her visiting next year or next to next year again for the holidays, to which she does say that she would actually be visiting her grandmom again. Though Romi is saddened to know that she's now going to leave in 2 days for the United Kingdom. He curiously asks about the United Kingdom and the travel, and he hands over his flute to her, and she promises to return the next year. At this, Romi, he watches her going back home and he bids her goodbye. So you see, it's a very, very fascinating story of two children hailing from two contrasting backgrounds. But children are good at heart. They just try to gel up with each other, leaving all the worries of worldly affairs at bay. The story also portrays as one needs to be pragmatic to part away with strangers who come into life for a short period of time. They were strangers to each other, but parted as if they had been friends for a very, very long time. So this is basically a fact of most of the Ruskin Bond stories. And with this, we come to the end of the story. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful time. Stay safe. Bye.